things. Yeah. We're on Samach Beis Amud Beis. So we're looking at understanding the second version of what Rav Zakkai said to I think it was Rabbi Yochanan, right? So we said over here, Chaim b'Shabbos mishar mitzvahs and Chaim mishar mitzvahs b'Shabbos. What was the Chaim of Shabbos? That by Shabbos, if you do two malachas in one helam, you're going to be chayiv two. Masha'en kain in shar malachas. And the second part of it is Chaim mishar mitzvahs, that on shar mitzvahs you could be chayiv when you shoyvig will shloi b'miskav, and masha'en kain by Shabbos. By Shabbos, if you do something without being miskaven, you're going to be potter. So we asked, what is that talking about? Well, the Gemara, this is what Rabbi Yochanan had tainus on Rav Zakkai. What does this mean that you're going to be chayiv on two things? You could be a chayiv on two malachas on Shabbos, but not by shar malachas. If it's two separate malachas like katsira and what we said, katsira and tchina, so they're two separate malachas. The equivalent of that would be someone doing two averis. He ate chelev and he did shatnez. So that's those would also be two separate things. And if it's both the same malacha, then you'd be chayiv one for Shabbos as well. It would only be one. So then we wanted to say, then at that point the Gemara asked, maybe we're talking about where he did by Shabbos is talking about two separate malachas. And that which we said, you're going to be chayiv for the equivalent of you eat chelev and you ate dam, which are two separate lavim. You'll also be chayiv two chatayis. We're not talking about stam averis. We're talking about specifically avodas kechav. And then we quoted from Reb Ami that says ziva v'kita v'nischa b'helam echad. You only chayiv one. So avodas kechavim is distinct. But for the Gemara, then when the Gemara had a problem, what about the Seifa? What about the second part of what we quoted of the Brisa that said Chaim b'shar mitzvahs, that by shar mitzvahs your shaloi b'miskaven is chayiv, masha'en came by Shabbos. But if we're saying that shar mitzvahs here doesn't mean shar mitzvahs, it means specifically avodas kechavim. Saying yechayiv on avodas kechavim shaloi b'miskaven brings you into that same morass that we were in on Amud Aleph. That what is the case of if a person is Oved Avodah Zarah, but we made a mistake. He thought he was looking at a shul, and he was really looking at a church, or thought he was looking at a statue of the king. It was really a statue of the melech. All those things are not. You're not going to be chayav at all. So the Gemara said, "Ella me'ava me'yira." So he said that's good according to Abaye. That says you're going to be chayiv by ava me'yira. So then you'll have an example where you only chayiv one for. So he did, let's say, zibach v'kitor. So by avodah zarah, he did them all may avo me'yira. So he's only going to be chayiv one because it's ava and yira. Because like we would go with Ravami. I'm sorry, no, it's forgetting about that. He did it may ava me'yira. He's going to be chayiv masha'en ken by Shabbos, or he'll be pat. But it was, what about Rav? As we said, it's talking about Omer Mutter. So, Masha'en Kem B'Shabbos, the Potter Legam. For the Gemara, if you were saying that we're talking about B'Shabbos, that you're going to be Potter altogether, right? You're going to be Chayiv by Omer Mutter. For Avodah Zarah, we're not talking about Ava Me'yira, but he thought that there was mamash no Isser of Avodah Zarah. So he's in Gansen. He's going to be chayiv to bring a. He's going to be chayiv to bring a carbon. Mashenkin and Shabbos, by Shabbos, like we're going to see later on, he's misasik. He's it's not a melech smachshava. So for the Gemara,
I didn't hear that.
It's going to be misasik by Shabbos. You potter on Shabbos if you didn't intend for the action. There's a meleches machshavas asu Torah legabi Shabbos. You're not going to be chayiv for Shabbos by Omer Mut. Frek the Gemara. Well, we really, I'm jumping ahead. The point is, by Shabbos you're going to be potter if it's any miskaven, and by you're going to have to bring a carbon by Omer Mutter of Avodah Zarah. Frek the Gemara, but you're saying it's going to be potter in Gansen. Frek the Gemara, Ad kan leboya minei Ravamir of Nachman. Halam zeh v'zeh. This is what we had in Amud Aleph. If someone did a malacha on Shabbos, and he both didn't realize that it was Shabbos, and he didn't realize that this thing was a malacha. So the Gemara in Amud Aleph, we brought this machlekes. So that there was a machlekes about whether you chayiv, whether you bring one chatas or you bring two chatas. And the case where someone says Omer Mutter is equivalent to that. He's like someone who said, I don't know it's Shabbos and I don't know that it's a malacha. He basically doesn't know anything. So it's the same thing. And the argument over there was whether you chayiv one because he was helam on Shabbos, or is he chayiv each separate malacha since he forgot, he didn't know. In addition, he thought it was Friday, and he also thought that you're allowed to plow, and he thought you're allowed to grind. So maybe you should be mechuyev for each one. So that's a machlekes Rav and Rav Nachman, but they both agree mechuyev at least one. And we're trying to say by Omer Mutter that on Shabbos you're potter in Gansen. So that's the only question. But there's no one who says that you're going to be potter in Gansen. So again, we're still stuck with this question: what is this? If you're talking about Avodah Zarah, what is the second part of the brisa that says Shabbos is going to be more kal because you're not going to be mechuyev at all? But Shabbos you are going to be mechuyev if you're equivalent to Omer Mutter. So tomorrow, my kusha. I'll say that the Reisha is talking about Tak Avodas Kechav. And like we explained before, that it's Avodas Kechavim, and therefore we can understand by Avodas Kechavim we have Rav Ami that says that you're only going to be chayiv on one. Masha'in came Malachas Shabbos. And the Seva that says you're potter on Shabbos by any miskav and yechayiv, that's not talking about Avodas Kechavim, that's talking about Sharmel mitzvahs. V'shagig b'loy miskaven. And it's talking about a person who was shagig in the shar mitzvahs. What's the case? The Gesava Roiku, he thought that what was in his mouth was just his own saliva, so he had no real intention of swallowing anything at all. It was just his saliva. Ubaloi, and he swallowed it, and it turned out it was really chalev. So that's the case of shar mitzvahs, and on that you would taka bichayiv to bring a carbon chatas, because there's no ptur of melechas machshavas. Masha ein came b'Shabbos the potter. So someone like someone who intended to pick up something that was separated. He saw a watermelon on the ground, and he thought it was lying there, and he picked it up, and it turned out it was attached to the ground. Potter. Someone who's misasik, which is what the case. This is case of where there was saliva in his mouth, so he had no intention to do the actual maisa of Isser. It wasn't just that he thought it was mutter, but he didn't even intend to do the maisa. He's still going to be chayiv, because since he's having hana, there's a certain amount of meat to make a, no pun intended, but there's some substance to what he's doing, and therefore he's going to be chayiv. Misasik b'Shabbos potter, melechas machshavas asur Torah. There's a specific ptur of melechas machshavas, and it doesn't make a difference if you're nana on Shabbos, you're going to be potter if you're misasik. So then that's the way we can understand the brisa, that the first part of the brisa is talking about contrasting Shabbos to Avodas Kechav. The second part is contrasting Shabbos to Shar Mitzvahs. So Gemara and Rav Yochanan, this is Rav Yochanan. Rav Yochanan did not want to say, he said that you can't understand the brisa. So Rav Yochanan tamei, the lo yimukum asnisa reisha b'chad time b'v'sefer chad time. Rav Yochanan rejects this explanation that we're giving of Rav Zakkai, of why he would have said, he would say this din Chaim b'Shabbos and Sham mitzvahs, right? Because Rabbi Yochanan doesn't hold that you can split up one brisa and say half is talking about one topic and the other half is talking about another topic. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, man de metargim lechaves ali b'dechatano, the person who will help me out there was a machlekes Rabbi Yochanan and another Amayra he was trying to understand this sugya of a chavis, where someone picked up a chavis in a house, and the shomer picked it and he moved it, and there was a stira in that brisa, and one Tana said they're talking about two separate things. Rabbi Yochanan was looking for someone to explain the brisa without saying that the two parts of the brisa, the seif and the ratio of that brisa, were talking about two separate topics. So he says, whoever will explain it, I'll carry his towel to the bathhouse. Which you're probably like me, that you remember that expression even when we saw it in Bava Metzia, even though we don't remember exactly what the discussion was. But that was the gist of that was the mechanics of the topic there. So therefore, that's why Rabbi Yochanan doesn't want to learn this brisa like this. Gufa. Amar Avami. Part of what we mentioned in the way that Rav Zakkai had understood the brisa. The truth is, both of them understood the brisa, that it's going based on, he was saying, the chiluk between shar mitzvahs, between avodas kechavim and Shabbos, that by Shabbos you mechayev each malacha behelam echad, and by avodas zara you only chayev one. Was the Ravami that says ziva v'kitim nisra behelam echad ain't chayev halachas. Amar Abaye, my time of the Ravami, where did this come from? Amar Karlois of them. Hakas of Alam Kulon Avoida Achas. Abaye says that we learn from the pasuk of Lois of them that the pasuk made it all into one thing. So me Amar Abaye Hachi. Does Abaye really hold like this? The Abaye is explaining Ravami that he says from Lois of them that everyone, all the different avodas of avodas kechavim, you only chayev one chatas. Why does it say three times the din of hashtachava, that you're over for being mishtachava, for bowing down in avodas kechavim? Achas l'kedarka. One is to tell you when someone does an avodah in the normal way. That's the normal way to worship an avodah zara. So, and one is one is that's not the normal way. He's still going to be chayiv. So, and one is to separate it, to say that you're going to be mechayiv for each one separately. That if you do, you're going to have to bring a separate carbon for each one. Zak the Gemara. So affect the Gemara. You see, Abaye is saying that you are mechalik, not like Ravami. Ravami had said you only chayev one, and here we have Abaye saying that you mechayev. We say the last instance of saying kishtachava is to tell you that you are mechalik. So the Ravami come of a Abaye holds like he said in the second instance that he holds that it's l'chalik and you be mechayev each one. He was explaining Ravami. He said you learn it out from that pasuk of them, but he wasn't saying that he himself agrees with that. Gufa Amar Abaye shalosh tachavois b'avois gechavim lama achzl kedarka v'achzl kedarka v'achzl chalak. We had already had this topic because it's come up before, right at the beginning of this Mishnah, and we said it's from the pasuk of that. How did the Goyim worship their idols? It's telling you that if you do it the way that they did it, you're going to be chayiv. El achas kedarka ushaloi kedarka. One is the case of kedarka and shaloi kedarka, which is somewhat like the normal way. So, which Rashi explains, it's talking about he's not doing something like being payir lebal pa'ar or the bar kulis where he's doing something respectful, something that shows respect to the avodah zarah, but it's not the normal way. So it's similar to kedarka. He's showing respect to it, but not in its normal way. V'achas l'shaloi kedarka, and one is when it's entirely not in the normal way. So like we said by Baal Pa'ar, and he did a respectful act to something that's normally disrespected. V'achas l'chalik, and the last one is l'chalik. Okay, Yasher Kayach. I think.